Good evening and welcome to Crosstalk. My name is Frederick Njiri, and this is the first time that we are doing this show after a while. And one of the things that we want to achieve this time with this show is we want to make sure that by the time we get to the election, we know exactly what kind of people we should be voting in. They say everything rises and falls on leadership. So if we get it wrong, for the next 5 years, we will have to live with our wrong decision. If we get it right, then for the next 5 years, we will have to live with our right decisions, meaning the consequences of our decisions are so key. We are a country with great resources. But unfortunately, if we have the wrong people at the top, and I'm not just talking about the presidency, I'm talking about the entire leadership scope. If we don't have the right people, all these resources will not benefit us. So this is a very, very important talk. And we'll expect you to participate also in this by SMSing us on 0786 316 316. That's our WhatsApp line. Or you can SMS us on 20316. I have two individuals in the studio with me who will help us get a better understanding of what leadership is. And so that by the time we go to vote, we know exactly what we are talking about. Let me be gender sensitive. I have Daisy Amdani with me in the studio. Daisy, you're not new to this platform. We've been having conversation for a whole while. Daisy is from
Crown Trust.
Crown Trust. Mm-hmm. She's been mobilizing a lot of people towards the 2022 elections so that we can make the right decision. And I also have Dr. Michael Musango, who's an expert also on leadership and consultant, and is also a pastor. Yes. So we're going to get a whole dose of all this conversation, including the birds that you've just heard, which basically our audience. Now, leadership. Every now and then, this is a word that is thrown everywhere. I mean, leadership. What exactly is leadership? Because I don't know whether we've ever gotten it right. Let me start with you.
Okay, I think for me, in a nutshell, yes, because I think the area of leadership is very vast and people have very many definitions, yes, about what leadership is. But in my opinion, in a nutshell, yes, leadership is the exercise of power and influence. Mm-hmm.
It's an exercise of power and influence.
Okay. Yes. And you know, because every time we talk about leadership, people always think of leadership and good leadership. Yes. We never think of leadership and bad leadership, because you can exercise power and influence badly. You know, there are leaders who have known to be able to mobilize entire peoples, entire nations, entire groups in a totally wrong direction. So really, it's the ability to be able to influence, to use the power that you have available to you to influence outcomes, to influence people towards certain directions. So for me, I think in a nutshell, that's how I would define leadership.
Dr. How would you define the same?
Well, as she has said, leadership is basically influencing people towards the achieving of a certain objective or to arriving at a particular destination. The ability to mobilize people, inspire people, and bring people along with you to a desired place. Yeah.
So basically the key thing here, I see two words that you're using is power and influence.
Yes.
Power and influence.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at our country, because I think this is very, very critical. In 1963, Kenya, Singapore, and South Korea were at par. And actually, Kenya gave Singapore a loan. 59 years later today, Singapore is a first world, South Korea is a first world, and Kenya, we're still doing third world. What did the leadership, South Korea, Singapore, and Kenya do differently? Because I believe they lived through the same time, same circumstances, same seasons.
Well, I would say that the greatest leader that ever lived was Jesus Christ. And two components of leadership that are extremely important. Number one is vision. And number two, the desire to make people.
The desire to make.
To make people. Because
make people, build people.
No, I'm going to get into that.
Okay.
When you do not have a vision, then you cannot guide us to any place. Sure. Leadership should have should be generational, such that, you know, the vision is there, which is like a blueprint of a building. And in this blueprint of a building, we know that it's going to be 20 stories. And so at my time, if all I can do is to lay up the foundation, when I'm done with my foundation level, for one reason or another, I'm not there tomorrow, those that come in don't have to figure out what was he trying to achieve and where was he trying to go. I've left behind something that they can say, this is where he was going. So we pick up from here now, we do the flows. And if the next guy does 5 flows and he is out of time, the one who comes doesn't need to pull down the structure. He finds a blueprint for another generation. We do from 5th floor to 10th floor. So there is progression. So we have seen the 60 floors building done. Then we go down to doing it sequentially in such a way that when I'm through with my time, the one who comes next can pick it up from there without demolishing the thing. But the problem we have is that national vision, I think, is the thing that we have lacked. So you have seen so many white elephant projects all over. Because if I come into office today, I want to do this. But then it is not a national vision. So the one who comes to succeed me, when they come, their vision is not that. Pull it down or leave it where it is, we begin ours. And before 5 years are over, they have not finished theirs. The one who comes after that, neither is this nor that their vision.
But I thought when President Kenyatta, the founding father of the nation, there was something that he kept on saying, that we are out to defeat poverty.
Poverty, ignorance, and disease. And we are still doing that even 59 years later. Yes. I want to agree with Dr. that it is really, vision is important. But so we talk about the vision of defeating poverty, ignorance, and disease. So how do you defeat poverty? You put in place the necessary measures and programs that will alleviate poverty. You factor it into your education, ignorance, your education system, the kind of education system that you want to have, the vision of what you want as a country. In fact, you talk about Singapore. Yes. I've actually been reading Lee Kuan Yew's book, From Third World to First World. And the thing that struck me and strikes me the most is his burden to make the country a functioning nation. And he looks at all aspects. He looked at how the security set up, the people, because the people were not just, it wasn't just a poor country. The people were also, you know, steeped in poverty and, you know, unsanitary conditions and everything. And he needed to bring these people out of that into the country that he saw that they could be. And so he worked with people around the vision of making Singapore a functioning state. And it's really quite a wonderful a book to read, you know, about how a visionary leader can really take a nation, a backwater nation, and put it on the same footing with any other first world country. And remember, it's also a very small country. The problem that we have is that we don't have visionary leaders, and that's the honest truth.
We don't have visionaries of the 40 million people. We don't have.
I'm not saying of the 40 million people. We're talking about the current leadership that we have. We do not have visionary leaders. In fact, if you look, like right now, I saw a post recently on social media where somebody talks about the tragedy that is unfolding, where everybody is now running into politics. We have people from the media. We have people from private sector. We have people in civil service. We have civil society activists. Everybody is running to politics because we have made politics the most lucrative trade in Kenya, okay? And everything else is falling apart. So we have a situation where everybody is actually going, because if you were to actually analyze the reason why these people are going into politics, is it really to administer the state for the benefit of Kenyans, to enable the people to maximize their talents and their gifts? Or is it for personal gain? Because we've seen in Kenya, the fastest track to riches and glory is actually through the political stroke civil service, you know, where you cannibalize the state. And therein lies our problem. People are running to become governors because as a governor, you're handling billions of shillings annually. But let's look at it. How do you go from today, here you are, Fred, we are with you, and within a year of you becoming either a governor or a member of parliament or a senator, you become fabulously wealthy. What explains that? And your income doesn't justify
maybe I'm
that.
being paid.
If you look at the richest people right now in Kenya are people who are in civil service, people who are in the political arena, and their cronies. That's actually what our problem is. That people go into government not to administer the state for the benefit of the nation, including leadership at its topmost. Today, as we speak, the ruling family is one of the richest families, not just in Kenya or even in the continent, but in the world. But how? How do you go from being, when Jomo Kenyatta, the first president, became prime minister and then president, he wasn't a wealthy man. A mere 13 years later, he was fabulously wealthy. And those are the questions that we must not shy away from answering if we're going to crack the leadership issue in
so
Kenya.
what happened? Because if you look at where we started, what went off the cogwheel? In terms of leadership, you started off of vision. We seem to have had a vision.
Vision 2030, we still have one.
We still have one that is supposed to end in 2030. So what is not working, apart from the fact that we've made politics the most lucrative business in Kenya? Do we have leaders?
Now, I will say this again. I will say this again. Leaders can be born and leaders can be made. And what I would like to say is that everybody has the potential and the capacity of becoming a leader, because we have at least one or two people that look up to us and we can influence them. Let's begin there, number one. Like I said, everybody that Jesus called, he told them, if you follow me, this is what I will make you. And all of them saw what he was going to make us was a better deal than what we were doing. So leadership, number one, is about building people and making them better than where you found them. It's about providing answers and solutions. And sometimes it's like we don't anticipate the challenges that may come in the future. Like I will draw you again to the Bible. Moses has a very clear vision that I'm moving you from point A, which is Egypt, I'm moving you to Canaan. And because the vision is so clear, even if I don't get there, the one who comes after me will not be trying to go around the bush. Do we detour to Kenya? Do we go to Greece, or do we return? The vision is clear and it's continuous from one generation to another generation. And it's all about making the people better and providing answers. Providing answers. And many times we fail because we don't anticipate difficulties and uncertain things happening around. And so he begins asking God, supposing I go, what you're telling me to do, supposing I go and Pharaoh says no, what do we do? Supposing the people are not willing, what do we do? But for us, it's like sometimes we are so narrow-minded that if what we wanted doesn't happen, we are done and finished. We have no plan B, a backup plan, and how to get where we are going. And mobilizing people. If you're going alone, you're taking a walk. There has to be influence enough, convincing enough, with proof and results, for people to want to follow you along. And the vision must be benefiting them, not you.
Because the vision must be benefiting
the people, not you. It must be, in the process you may get blessed along the way, but the vision must be people.
So the vision should not be you getting blessed.
No.
It should be the people who are following you.
The vision should be you, it should be the people.
All right.
If the people are blessed, you will be blessed.
When Jesus came, it wasn't about us. It wasn't about him.
Yes.
He came for us.
Yes.
So leadership is about building the people, making life better for the people, giving answers to the people. But what we are seeing right now is leadership is a way of having power around to protect what you have gained illegally. And that's not leadership.
Okay, we go for a short break.
Daktari.
We go for a short break. Kevin is screaming in my ear. We go for a short break right now. So we're going to take that break. I really hope you're getting what I'm getting, because it paints a very clear picture of the kind of leadership that we need to have. When we come back, we'll look at Dubai, a country that maybe around 30 years ago was a desert. But right now, almost every other Kenyan wants to go to Dubai. Reason? We'll find out. Let's take that break.
Tomorrow and Man Up, we focus on the next phase of life.
Retirement is one of those things that many of us don't want to talk about until we get there.
Don't fear retirement. You have 30 years of experience. These 30 years of experience should not go to waste.
How can men find their purpose after retirement?
If you can't have a life without a salary, you're not prepared.
That's tomorrow and Man Up at 8:30 p.m.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. Just in case you're joining us, we're talking about leadership. Like they said, everything rises and falls on leadership. In a couple of months or so, we'll be going to the election. And we'll be voting in people who, for the next 5 years, are going to be taking care of your resources. So, we want to see what kind of people do we want to ensure we appoint to take care of our resources. And in case, as I said, you're joining us, I have Daisy Amdani with us, and I have Dr. Musango with us. And we, just before we went for the break, you were talking about, people basically coming in to protect whatever they have, what you can call maybe what their ill-gotten wealth.
Yeah, I would say that because let's just make it very simple and very basic. The leadership that really affects and transforms people is servant leadership. And servant leadership does not necessarily require you to have a position. It's just serving the people. And you don't need power to serve the people. If it's not in your heart to serve them, power won't make you do it. So in most cases, and especially in African setup, leadership is seen as the only way, political leadership, the only way to get wealth, and number two, the only way to protect what you have. And the sad thing is that politicians have a way of making their personal problems appear like national problems. And then they convince people that by following me, we are solving national problems, when in reality, it's actually their selfish and personal needs that are being met. So like I have said, positive leadership has the people in mind. It's about changing the people and uplifting their lives.
Before you move on, let me also say that leadership, especially in a nation, it's also bolstered by accountability. The ability, a true leader is also accountable to the people and allows themselves to be held accountable. And those are some of the things.
We have institutions in Kenya that are supposed to
and strong institutions. So no.
Yes.
It's not just about the institutions. It's also about the people holding their leaders to account. Where you have a two-way engagement between the leaders. Because remember that sovereign power belongs to the people, and the people delegate that sovereign power to the various offices that we see. However, those offices, that power is held in trust on behalf of the people. And the leader should also engage with the people. So there's one of the avenues that we have for that engagement is through public participation.
Yes.
So when you've got all these development agenda, or maybe you've got budgets, that are to be allocated, there is an engagement between the leadership and the people where they have a discussion about how they want the money to be used or what projects they want to be prioritized. So there is that accountability, which our leaders run away from. A true leader, true servant leader, doesn't run away from accountability. But leaders who run away from accountability are steeped in impunity. They are not to be questioned. I am the leader. How dare you question me? I'm the leader. Then we have institutions that offer the different checks and balances. Now, when you have institutions that are supposed to bring in those checks and balances, they are emasculated, they are weakened, under-resourced, or you put in political cronies so that they do your bidding. So those institutions become weak and they cannot hold the leadership to account. What happens then? You have a state of impunity, which is what we have right now. So that at the end of the day, you can't hold the leaders to account. We've all seen it. I mean, Parliament has become a law unto itself. They do whatever they feel like. They do not represent the will of the people. They do not they do not administer the state on behalf of the people. They have failed to protect the public purse. But there's no way of holding them accountable. So it entrenches impunity. So it's not just about leadership in terms of just the political level. It's a combination of things: the leadership, accountability, institutions that offer the checks and balances, and then the regular elections where we get to choose. You can even recall, remember, we also have the right to recall our leaders. If the president doesn't perform, he can be impeached. If your member of parliament or governor fails to perform, they can be impeached, they can be recalled. So we have very many avenues. But many of these, they've made it so difficult for people to hold them to account, so that now we are steeped in impunity and they do pretty much whatever they feel like doing.
If we look at a country like Dubai, we talk about a country that was literally a desert less than 30 years ago. Right now, almost every other person in the world wants to go to Dubai. If I compare the period between Moi and Kibaki, during Kibaki's time, there seemed to be a semblance of movement towards something. If you can use these two, what are we supposed to look out for now? Because now everybody is giving forth visions. There are people who are coming with the bottom-up vision. There are people who are coming up with the 6,000 vision.
Not sloganeering.
Yes.
You are talking about slogans.
Yes.
You are talking about slogans.
Then how do
the future is bright.
Yes.
The future is whatever. Those are just slogans.
Yes.
Visions are about the how. It is something, as Daktari said,
yes,
that you can follow. That if I die today,
yes,
you can build on it. Okay?
Listening, because as I said, this show is very critical because we are heading towards an election. Yes. And I'm not just talking about the presidency, I'm talking about the entire, because all these people are handling our resources. What should we be looking at?
I think that the first thing that you should look at is track record.
Yes.
Okay, because many of the current leaders that are telling us that they are the ones who will bring us out of have actually been on the leadership landscape for many years. So we actually have precedent. We can actually we can look at their track record to see if they have performed. Because as Daktari said something very important, you actually don't need power, political power, to serve the people, to do certain things. So, but here we have people who've had power, even in measure. What have they done with that power? So if they've been, if somebody has been in power for 10, 20, 30 years, and they have not done much other than enrich themselves, it is unlikely that they are going to transform in this short while. So for me, track record, and their track record and the precedent they have set, tells us a lot about who they are. The other thing is the vision, beyond the sloganeering, because the vision should tell you the how. Because remember, even as we speak right now, Kenya is in a very difficult situation economically.
Yes.
We are actually in an economic crisis. The country is undergoing fiscal consolidation. We have huge unemployment. We have lack of social cohesion, national cohesion. We have very many challenges. So before you tell me how you are going to do other things, you've got to tell me how you're going to even stabilize the country.
Yes.
You know, right here we have this situation. This is how I'm going to do it. And after we do this, then this is how we're now going to build. How are we going to address the issue of unemployment? Not to say just words there where we say, I'll create 500,000 jobs a year. How? Tell us. And this is how I'm going to do it. We will invest in these sectors. This is how I'm going to deal with the debt. This is how I'm going to deal with corruption. This is how I'm going to the how. Tell us. Don't just, you know, people just go, it is a rally. Hey, oh, mumechoka, tumechoka. Hey. That's not vision.
So what I would say
briefly,
is, what I would say is that when we talk about a national vision, what we need first of all is awareness. Awareness of where we are, how we got where we are, where we want to be within this specific number of years, and how do we get there. Now that will inform your decisions on, are we going to revisit our education system to produce for us what we are looking for? Because one thing that saddens my heart is to see we have so many graduates and engineers from Nairobi, University of Nairobi, but when you look at our roads, they are being done by Chinese. We have graduates who cannot do the roads, and if they go to those companies, they go to serve tea. That means we may have to get to that place where we want to go, we may have to check back, look back at our education system. Are we producing employees, or are we producing people that can create employment and move their country there? Then we look at, to get there, how is our agriculture? Because you cannot tell people, I'm going to be building roads for you when they are dying. Starvation. So for us to develop and have some money left to develop the roads, the people must first of all be full. Because if you build the roads for dying people, who's going to work on them? So that may mean, let's go back and look at our agricultural investments and getting, a place of being food sufficient. Then the next thing, is it that we need at least a health dispensary in every village? How do we get back there? Because the vision you want, it can't just be saying we want development, but how are we developing?
And what kind of development?
Is it industrialization? What industries can we begin? It could be as simple as, or a sisal or whatever, tissue papers. But we need something. For us to get where we are going, what changes do we need to make now in all the sectors of economy? That's the thing. Then we come up with a long-term vision, which the whole country now can know. From every village, every sub-chief knows. As Kenya, this is where we are going agriculturally. This is where we are going educationally. This is where we are going health-wise. Every MP knows as a nation, this is where we are going. So nobody comes into office. So everybody
works towards achieving.
Yes, so that nobody comes into office with his own vision for the little village. But the little village vision must be building the bigger national vision, feeding into that. So we move together as a nation to our desired end.
Okay, beautifully said. It's unbelievable. Time is up.
Yes.
Jesus was the best leader, as both my panelists have said. I mean, if you look at Jesus, you'll be able to see what he came to do, where he was taking us, what he was making us, and he achieved it. And so these are some of the things that we need to look at as we are going towards the election. Let us not vote people who you individually would not put in charge of your own investment. Because if he cannot take care of, if you can't trust him with your own money, then don't trust him with the nation's resources. Even the word, constituency, all those levels. So we'll be continuing with this conversation in the next show, looking at leadership, different aspects, so that by the time we drop the ballot, we know exactly who we are looking for and what we don't want. To have yourself a lovely evening.